See, that's what you think. Y'all doing good. Motherfucker, I ain't got no goddamn money. The fame come before the fortune. I'm still these suits, I got to take back.
I thought you had to go home.
Don't you worry about that. You focus on your A minus.
Actor, comedian Bernard McCullough died early Saturday morning at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. A publicist for the 50-year-old says he passed away from complications due to pneumonia.
You don't leave us now. This has been my life since I was 16.
What happened to the comedy legend who seemed so full of life and energy? Fans were shocked when news broke about Bernie Mac's sudden death. How could someone so talented and loved face such a heartbreaking end? Let's explore the story of Bernie Mac's life, his health struggles, and the tragic loss that stunned the world.
Yeah, man, I'm a connoisseur of love, you know what I mean? I know how to touch. I know where they like it so much. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, it even rhymes.
Bernie Mac was one of those rare people who could make everyone laugh. Whether it was on his hit TV show, The Bernie Mac Show, or his stand-up comedy, he had a way of connecting with people. But behind the smiles and jokes, Bernie was fighting a battle most of us didn't see. His health was suffering, and the entertainment world didn't seem to care much. It was all about making money, even if it cost Bernie his well-being. Bernie had sarcoidosis, a disease that causes swelling in different parts of the body. It's not a well-known condition, but it can be very serious. For years, Bernie kept working, even as this illness made life harder for him. He gave everything he had to his fans, but it took a big toll on his health.
Mac also suffered from an inflammatory lung disease that had been in remission for the past 3 years.
In 2007, Bernie shocked everyone when he announced he was retiring. On The Late Show with David Letterman, he talked about how he wanted to slow down and enjoy life. "I've been on the road for so many years," he said. "It's time to savor life a little bit." It was a rare moment of honesty from someone who had spent so much time entertaining others.
What the you doing?
Even after deciding to step back, Bernie didn't stop completely. He kept acting and making people laugh. In 2007, he played a funny and charming car salesman in Transformers. He also voiced a character in the animated movie Madagascar, Escape to Africa. His last movies, Soul Men and Old Dogs, came out after his passing, showing how dedicated he was to his craft. But while Bernie gave his all, the entertainment industry kept demanding more. It's heartbreaking to think about how much pressure he must have been under, even as his health got worse. Instead of slowing down to take care of himself, he kept going because that's what the industry expects from its stars.
Actor, comedian Bernard McCullough died early Saturday morning at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. A publicist for the 50-year-old says he passed away from complications due to pneumonia.
In August 2008, People magazine shared a sad and chilling story about comedian Bernie Mac's final days in the hospital. Bernie was admitted to the hospital on July 24th because he had a fever and was having trouble breathing. For 17 days from July 24th to August 9th, he stayed in the intensive care unit, depending on a ventilator to help him breathe.
Mac also suffered from an inflammatory lung disease that had been in remission for the past 3 years.
Bernie Mac's sister-in-law, Ann Grossett, shared how hard he fought for his life. She described how doctors tried to save him. She said they worked on him. They tried to resuscitate him twice. One time he came back for about an hour, but then he went into cardiac arrest again. His wife, Rhonda, and their daughter, Janice, were by his side the entire time. They watched as doctors worked to bring him back. After the first resuscitation, Bernie regained consciousness for about an hour. But during the second attempt, his heart stopped again. By that time, Bernie and his wife hadn't been able to have a proper conversation for over a week. It was a deeply emotional and heartbreaking time for the family. However, as the hours passed, a chilling feeling overcame Rhonda. She described feeling a cold gust of wind pass by her as she waited in the hospital. When she was eventually permitted into Bernie's recovery room, her fears materialized. His eyes were wide open and he was trembling. Could Bernie Mac's death have been prevented? Bernie Mac's wife, Rhonda McCullough, believes her husband's death didn't have to happen. She has filed a lawsuit in Chicago claiming one of Bernie's doctors, Dr. Renee M. Earls, failed to provide proper care when Bernie needed it the most. The lawsuit states that Bernie visited Dr. Earls on July 17, 2008, just a few weeks before he passed away. At the time, Bernie was already feeling very sick. He had a fever, was tired, and was struggling to breathe. Bernie stayed in the doctor's office for 9 hours that day, but his condition didn't improve. The lawsuit claims the doctor didn't notice serious warning signs, like Bernie's fast heart rate and difficulty breathing. Dr. Earls also didn't call 911 or send Bernie to the emergency room, even though it was clear he was in trouble. According to the lawsuit, if Dr. Earls had acted quickly and called 911, Bernie Mac could have received the urgent care he needed and might still be alive today. One doctor, in a statement supporting the lawsuit, said Bernie's life could have been saved with timely medical help.
Yeah, my last conversation I had with Bernie was he called to tell me that he was opening up for a month at MGM Grand in Vegas.
When Bernie Mac passed away on August 9, 2008, his family was heartbroken. He wasn't just a famous comedian to them, he was their everything. His wife, Rhonda McCullough, and their daughter, Janice, have shared many emotional moments about their love for him and the pain of losing him.
It was like, ooh, nothing I had ever seen. And I saw him and he was just shaking. And I remember going to him and I said, oh God, I said, Bernard, please don't.
Rhonda, Bernie's wife of 30 years, was devastated when he died. In an interview, her sister said that Rhonda found comfort in her strong faith in God. That faith helped her get through the hard times. Rhonda and Bernie had a love that was rare, especially in Hollywood. They respected and cared for each other every single day, and she stayed by his side until the very end.
I said, I'm gonna take care of you if you just come back.
The couple had been together since they were teenagers. Bernie's humor played a big part in winning Rhonda over. When they started dating, Bernie joked, "Girl, you better come on board this train because I'm going to be rich." Rhonda laughed and believed in him. They got married when Bernie was 20 and Rhonda was 19. They grew up together, faced life's ups and downs as a team, and became best friends. Rhonda said what she treasured most was being his wife for 3 decades and sharing a deep bond with him. When Bernie was in the hospital struggling with health problems, Rhonda stayed close to him. She begged him not to leave her. She remembered saying, "Please don't die. I'm here, and I'll take care of you." After he passed, she felt lost. "What am I going to do?" she asked herself. Bernie had been her whole world since she was 16 years old, and losing him left her searching for purpose.
You don't leave us now. This has been my life since I was 16.
Their daughter, Janice, has also been keeping her father's memory alive. She launched a podcast called Bernie's Daughter on October 5th, 2023, which would have been Bernie's 66th birthday. In her first episode, Janice shared a touching message to her dad. "You told me you would never leave me, and you've kept your promise," she said. She hopes the podcast makes him proud and shows the world how much she loves and misses him. Let's now delve into his early life that shaped him. Born Bernard Jeffrey McCullough on October 5th, 1957 in Chicago, Illinois. But his life from the get-go wasn't always full of laughs. He grew up on Chicago's South Side in a big family, raised mostly by his single mother, Mary McCullough. Bernie's father, Jeffrey Harrison, wasn't around much, and life was tough from the start.
Church.
There was a lot of people in this house. At one point, it might have been 10 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. That's a lot of people.
From a young age, Bernie showed he had a gift for making people laugh. At just 8 years old, during a dinner at his church, Bernie got up and started imitating his grandparents. His grandfather was a church deacon, and Bernie's playful impressions had everyone in stitches. This was the beginning of his love for comedy.
He preached.
My grandfather was a deacon of the church. He was go to work, pray.
Sadly, Bernie's childhood was full of heartbreak. When he was 16, his mother died of cancer. Not long after, he also lost his older brother, grandmother, and estranged father. These losses hit Bernie hard, but they also shaped who he became. "I came from a place where there wasn't a lot of joy," Bernie once said. I decided to make other people laugh when there wasn't much to laugh about. One memory that stayed with Bernie forever was seeing his mother suffer from breast cancer. He once shared this story in an interview. Bernie had just hit a home run in a baseball game and ran home, excited to tell his mom. But when he walked in, he saw her and noticed something was wrong. She wasn't fully covered, and he saw a scar on her chest. She had surgery to remove a breast because of cancer. As a child, Bernie didn't fully understand what was happening. He tried asking his grandmother, but she told him to talk to his mom. His mother, however, didn't want to talk about it, which left Bernie scared and confused. Even though she didn't tell him much, Bernie's mom tried to prepare for her death. Before she passed away, she wrote a 10-page letter to Bernie's aunt, explaining how to care for him. She believed Bernie had the strength to make it through life without her. Bernie took that strength and turned it into something special. Despite his struggles, he never gave up on his dream of making people laugh. As a young man, he performed comedy wherever he could. Sometimes he even told jokes on Chicago subway trains, making strangers laugh for spare change.
He was a smooth, articulate, real nice dresser. I could see why my mother, probably was attracted to.
Bernie Mac's journey to fame was far from easy. Before becoming a Hollywood star, he faced many challenges and worked hard to support his family. Bernie was a true family man who took on any job he could find to make sure his loved ones had what they needed. He worked as a janitor, cook, and even moved furniture. These jobs helped him pay the bills while he chased his dream of making people laugh. But Bernie's road to success wasn't smooth. There were plenty of bumps along the way. In 1992, Bernie's big break came when he appeared on HBO's Def Comedy Jam. This show introduced him to a larger audience, and people started noticing his unique style of comedy. After this, Bernie got small roles in movies like Mo Money, 1992, and Friday, 1995. These roles helped him practice his acting skills. Even though he was still waiting for his big Hollywood moment, his humor and talent caught more attention when he hosted his own HBO show, Midnight Mac. Then he joined Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hewley in Spike Lee's film, The Original Kings of Comedy. This project showed the world Bernie's special humor and made him a true comedy star.
Who you with?
Bernie's TV show, The Bernie Mac Show, was inspired by his stand-up routines and real-life experiences. Larry Wilmore, the show's creator, got the idea after seeing Bernie talk about raising his sister's kids in The Original Kings of Comedy. Larry believed this story would be a great foundation for a TV show, blending humor with heart.
Bernie was so raw in the clubs. If you were a watered-down version of Bernie on TV, it just wasn't going to work because people didn't want to see that.
When the show aired on Fox in November 2001, people loved it. Bernie had a unique way of breaking the fourth wall, talking directly to the audience as if sharing his private thoughts. Viewers connected with this style, and the show became a hit. The first season averaged 9.5 million viewers, and even won an Emmy for writing and a Peabody Award for its storytelling.
What I'm saying is, I can pimp this ride.
Yeah, pimp it. Pimp it out.
But things weren't always smooth behind the scenes. He had disagreements with the people at the network, Fox, about the direction of the show. Bernie was very protective of his own style, which caused some tension with the network executives. Larry Wilmore, the show's creator, also had issues with Fox from the beginning, especially when the network started interfering with his ideas for the show.
They can understand him. And one of the ways you were pivotal is being able not to change him, but to present him in a way that worked for him. And then he took off.
Exactly.
Bernie and Larry's relationship started to weaken during the second season. In interviews, Larry said that he felt like the network was trying to come between him and Bernie. He even wondered if Bernie's personal struggles or thoughts about the show's ownership played a role in their problems. Larry thought Bernie might have felt like his ideas weren't being heard and that the network was taking control away from him. Things got worse when Fox decided to fire Larry in the middle of the second season. The network felt that the show wasn't funny enough and often gave Larry notes on how to change things. One of the biggest arguments came in the first episode when Bernie's character spanked his nephew Jordan in a drugstore. The network didn't like the scene and asked for it to be changed. Larry disagreed and said that in black families, spanking kids was normal. This upset the network, and it was just one of many clashes between them.
I thought you had to go home.
Don't you worry about that. You focus on your A-.
After Larry left the show, Fox moved it to a new time slot. They thought it might get more viewers that way. The Bernie Mac show lasted 3 more years on Fox, but the constant change of time slots hurt the show's ratings. The show started on Wednesdays, then moved to Sundays, then Mondays, back to Wednesdays, and finally settled on Fridays. Fans had a hard time keeping up with the changing schedule. By the final season, the show only had about 3.6 million viewers. Despite this, the show won 3 consecutive NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Comedy Series. Bernie Mac also won 4 straight NAACP Awards for Outstanding Actor in a Comedy Series. The show aired its last episode on April 14th, 2006.
See, that's what you think. Y'all doing good. Motherfucker, I ain't got no goddamn money. The fame come before the horse. I'm still these suits, I got to take it back.
Bernie Mac wasn't your typical comedian in Hollywood. He didn't hold back when it came to sharing his thoughts about the entertainment industry. He was very open about how hard it was for black comedians to get fair chances in Hollywood. Bernie believed the industry didn't give black talent the same respect and opportunities it gave to others. This was something that frustrated him deeply.
Sitting and talking, and then we got in the limo, and he said, look here, man, I see you're coming up, you're doing your thing, but I tell you got to be original, you got to do your thing, but don't rush off to LA. He said, conquer your city first, then come to LA, because a lot of cats come out to LA too soon, and they end up being a small fish in a big pond, and he said, and some of them end up broke or sucking dick.
Throughout his career, Bernie felt that he had to work harder than others to get where he was. While other comedians quickly rose to fame, he had to put in extra effort. Even after making a name for himself, Bernie didn't feel Hollywood fully understood or appreciated him. He often said things that made people uncomfortable, but he didn't care. For Bernie, speaking the truth was more important than making others happy. He wanted to warn younger comedians about the dangers of fame. He believed Hollywood wasn't all glitz and glamour. Behind the shiny surface, there were many problems, especially for black entertainers. Bernie saw how the industry pressured people to act a certain way, even when it didn't feel right. He called this pressure twisted, and he didn't like how people were treated like puppets, following the rules or being left behind. One thing Bernie was very vocal about was the suck-up culture in Hollywood. In an interview, he talked about how entertainers were expected to flatter powerful people or act like they agreed with everything, even if they didn't. Bernie hated this. He believed people should stand by their values and not pretend to be something they weren't just to fit in.
They came to me. I was supposed to be the 4th king. I got the offer.
Then what happened?
But I turned it down.
Why?
Because you shit on Bernie.
Cat Williams, another comedian who was a close friend of Bernie Mac, has talked about Bernie's warnings. Cat said that Bernie wasn't a fan of Hollywood's secret meetings and exclusive parties. Bernie felt these parties were strange and even manipulative. Some people would leave feeling uncomfortable about what they had done or seen. He believed these gatherings were part of Hollywood's way of controlling people, making them question their own values.
And I know the truth. You think I'm gonna let you shit on Bernie and then come get me? I'm the next king? Fuck you.
Cat Williams has also faced similar challenges in Hollywood. Like Bernie, he didn't like the hidden practices in the industry, and he has spoken out about them. Cat believes that Hollywood doesn't like people who refuse to follow its rules. And Bernie was one of those people. Despite the pressure and the risks, Bernie never backed down. He stayed true to himself, even when it meant facing trouble or being treated differently. Bernie Mac's honesty about the ugly side of Hollywood made him unpopular with some powerful people in the industry. But he didn't care about that. He cared more about telling the truth, especially for the younger generation of comedians and actors who were just starting out.
That's what all I can say is what Bernie told me. Mm-hmm. And he was upset with Steve because he said Steve tried to get him taken off for the Oceans movie he did.
Oceans 11?
Yeah, and tried to vie for his part after he already got hired.
In the early 2000s, there was a legendary comedy tour called the Original Kings of Comedy. The tour featured 4 huge comedians: Steve Harvey, D.L. Hewley, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac. They toured the country, making people laugh, and it became a big deal. But what fans didn't know was that behind the scenes, there was a lot of tension between 2 of the stars, Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey. This tension caused problems that stopped a second Kings of Comedy tour from happening.
Because the word motherfucker is a noun. It describes a person, place, or thing.
In a 2018 interview, D.L. Hewley revealed that the main reason the second tour never happened was because of the feud between Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac. They just didn't get along. Hewley shared that he was once on a golf course with the two comedians where they talked about bringing the tour back. But the next day, everything fell apart. Bernie Mac decided to walk away from the idea, which ended the plans for the tour.
I remember I was at the golf course and we were getting ready to put it together and everybody was all excited. And
according to Hewley, one of the reasons for the tension was that Steve Harvey was getting a lot more attention from TV networks than Bernie Mac. At the time, Steve Harvey was getting more TV shows and opportunities, and this caused some jealousy. But later, Bernie Mac started to get more recognition for his talent, and that's when he decided to go his own way.
You remember how the Lakers had Chris Paul for a second, and then the next day they didn't? That's how it was. Like we was together, we were all excited, and the next day it didn't happen.
Both Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac had different styles of comedy. Steve was known for being smooth and loved to joke around with the audience, often making fun of their clothes, jobs, and other things. His way of roasting people made him stand out and kept the crowd laughing. On the other hand, Bernie Mac had a much harder style. He wasn't afraid to talk about the tough parts of life, and his comedy had more of an edge to it. Some people say that Steve Harvey may have felt jealous of Bernie Mac's raw style, and this jealousy led to the rivalry between them. Cedric the Entertainer, who was also a part of the original Kings of Comedy, confirmed what Hewley said. He agreed that Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac didn't get along, calling them both alpha males who saw things differently. But Cedric also pointed out that it wasn't just their feud that stopped the second tour. He said that the promoter who put the tour together also got too big for his boots and started thinking it was all about him. So there were a lot of factors at play. Even Ed Lover, a legendary DJ, added to the story. On his podcast, he shared that he didn't want to join the Kings of Comedy tour after Bernie Mac passed away because of the way Steve Harvey treated Bernie. He also mentioned that Bernie had told him personally about Steve trying to stop him from getting certain movie roles, like in Ocean's 11. Ed Lover said that Bernie had confided in him about Steve Harvey's behavior, and he believed Bernie's side of the story. In a 2003 interview with GQ magazine, Bernie Mac accused Steve Harvey of being jealous and trying to sabotage his career. Steve Harvey addressed these claims years later in 2010 and said he was hurt by what Bernie had said. But many fans still felt that Steve Harvey wasn't being honest. Some even took to social media to share their thoughts, with one person saying that Steve Harvey had a superiority complex over other black comedians, including Bernie and Cedric. Others hinted at a deeper, darker reason for Bernie's death, though no one knows for sure, many fans still believe that Steve Harvey's treatment of Bernie Mac was unfair and that there's more to the story than we'll ever know. And with that, we come to the end of this video, folks. Bye.